Yeah, thanks Thomas for inviting me over. 2.5 years ago I've already been here in this place, but actually on the other side of the microphone and on those places where you're sitting right now. Yeah, I'm actually Rosa Roth. I'm the founder and editor of The Smart View, an independent magazine for mobile photography. And I'm going to introduce you a bit into my work today, so you can imagine what I'm actually doing, because I think from maybe people who saw me on Instagram or my magazine on Instagram, it's not really clear what's behind this magazine. So I'm going to make an introduction into what's that all about, actually. This is like the title I chose for this presentation a few weeks ago, but I will explain something about this later. So I wanted to switch into the past first. So this is actually me in 2010. I got short hair at that time. And I also got my first camera, because I actually came pretty late into photography. I am an educated graphic designer, and I started out studying communication design. And at my university, I had to do a course at the darkroom. And this is actually how I came into photography. So it was not that I had a camera before, it was that I had the opportunity to get into a darkroom and I had to work there, and I really loved working in the dark. So I had to continue working there. I actually had to shoot pictures. So I bought my first analog cameras and films and started out shooting like really, I mean, you can see this in the selfie already, like really classic black and white photography, to be able to work with chemicals and with the whole printing process in the darkroom. And at that point I also started to, or I decided to concentrate myself fully on photography, because before that I was into graphic design, communication design, something like that. And I thought, okay, this is like really interesting to me, and I want to continue with that. And I actually changed university and went to the University of Fine Arts in Hamburg to study photography. And during my study, actually, with the time, something changed. Also, I continued photographing analog, of course, but the smartphone came up at one point, and I thought, okay, here in my university we get taught all the traditional stuff, and but we don't look actually into future, and we don't see what's actually going on outside of the university. So outside those traditional photographic theories. And I started thinking about the smartphone, and there was like a breaking point, really, a situation I had with some students sitting together, working on organizing an exhibition, and we were talking about how to install everything and what we want to install. And the students all were like, yeah, I want to print my pictures like really big, they should cover the whole wall. And I was at one point like, yeah, but why does everything has to be so big always? Why do we blow up things so much? Why don't we just present small pictures? I mean, it doesn't depend on the size of the pictures, it depends on what's in the pictures. So we could even present phone pictures instead of pictures from a large format camera, and it really depends on what's in it. And they were just staring at me and were like, okay, what's that all about? This is like crap. But in my mind, this idea like solidized, and I thought like, oh, maybe there's really something. I mean, this was like end of 2012, beginning of 2013. At that time, I didn't even have a smartphone. I had a Nokia with some buttons on it, so a really tiny thing where you write like T9 or something, I don't remember anymore. But I was like, okay, maybe there's something about it, we could try. And I didn't even have an idea if it's possible to extract the pictures I was at that time still taking with my Nokia phone to get them printed and get them into real world into an exhibition. And then I thought, okay, I will buy myself a smartphone, and it was like a really crappy smartphone, so I started out with that at one point and really got into this mobile photography. So as you can see, I actually jumped over from analog photography into mobile photography without even touching digital photography. And for me, it was really interesting, and I was researching a lot, and first it was a lot about communication, because I couldn't really get what mobile photography is. And I think this is for everyone who starts out with mobile photography or thinking about smartphones in general. It's pretty hard to get what it actually is, because the phone has diverse functions, and they are all in one device. So sometimes it's hard to get if the pictures we take are like part of communication, or if those pictures we take are like really photographs in the end. So it can be even mixed up. So there was a lot of confusion at that time, and I was like researching a lot to find out what that actually is. And I was actually still shooting on film, and this is actually a project I shot in Italy, where I somehow got closer to the development in photography and what's going on with smartphones and what are the people doing with those smartphones. And I actually chased up some tourists at really the hot spots in Italy and shot some pictures of them. And this is actually a picture with what was like it was the picture that made the basis, really the basis of the work with my magazine. Because this was the icon, let's say, that was standing there, even if when I started developing the magazine, it was like the first picture I actually had to publish, because I didn't have any pictures of other people yet. And I think this picture is, for me, it is actually iconic because it shows up the parallels between analog photography and mobile photography, because those two forms of photography, they have something in common. Maybe we don't see it so obvious, but as you can see, this guy, I mean, probably he left his reading glasses at the hotel, but he's some kind of using the smartphone like a viewfinder. So, I mean, I was working with my double-eyed reflex camera, and I had my viewfinder to look through, which is like similar, like a smartphone screen, actually, where you can see the picture you're shooting. I mean, there it's upside down, but here on the smartphone, it has some similarities. And here you can see it even better, because he's looking so close. He's like using the smartphone like a viewfinder, and this was like really astonishing to me. And that's why this picture like has been always there as the fundamental basis of my research and work. Yeah, to get a bit closer into what I'm doing with the magazine, I am showing you right now a galaxy, the orbit. And throughout the process with working with mobile photography, I got more and more into social media, of course, because this is the source where most people share their mobile photography, and I'm very much concentrating on Instagram. So actually, this galaxy is a metaphor on Instagram. So as already Joachim said, about 100 million pictures are shared daily on Instagram. So this is a mass we cannot even grab. It's something really unimaginable, something we can't even look at. So that's why it's like an expanding universe of images, a galaxy where we have like different planets and stars and materials. So this is how I actually also understand Instagram for my work. It's like my visual archive. It's my visual galaxy where I go into and I dive into it and I discover stars. I try to discover new talents. I try to pick out the stuff that is really interesting. And here it comes actually to the word human filter, because the things to actually see on Instagram, I mean, first of all, we can't get everything. But the other thing that get into our stream are like influenced by algorithms. So by our preferences, we get to see pictures that our friends like, pictures that are following our interests. And this is not actually a real view onto the mass. So it's not really an individual view. It's something that is based on how we use this app actually and what is influenced by an algorithm. So I see my work actually, or I see myself as a human filter. So a kind of curator which is working on a visual archive and picking out works to present them in reality, because this was always important to me to bring those people from online to offline. So that's why it's also a print magazine in the end. So the main source, the main source actually is the hashtag. Joachim already told something about hashtags, and this is like the general tool how to work on Instagram. Otherwise, you can't even sort out what's going on there. So I have a general hashtag, which is the smart view, and this is where I work on a daily basis. So I'm filtering the best pictures out of this hashtag, and I'm publishing them online. And another essence of those pictures I find online are going to be published in the magazine afterwards, or in other publications, or even in an exhibition like you've seen here at Zephyr. And as you already seen, maybe this hashtag contains 120K pictures, so it's a huge mass to work on. So to get this mass, you have to work on it daily. It's really, it's a huge workload, let's say. But it's also interesting because due to the hashtags, you can filter out also works. So if I do a call for entries, I always come up with new hashtags. So I've also come up with a hashtag for the conference 2 years ago. And this is like really, the main tool to work on. From this hashtag, I generate like features that are presented online. So this is, for example, a feature that comes up on the Instagram account of the Smart View, like on almost every Wednesday. It's called TSV Wednesday. Who wants to look them up? Just look up hashtag TSV Wednesdays, and you will see features of about 10 artists presented together. And for me, it's always important to also combine pictures, because I see it really as a curatorial tool to not only present a single artist, but also to represent a community. So I really like to combine pictures and create new stories out of it. And this is, for example, one version of it. Another thing I'm doing is articles, of course. This is like also online. So I pick out single artists and I'm doing highlights on them and interviews and presenting a bit bigger selection of pictures. And for me, it's always important to support the artist. So this is like the main goal of TSV, to support the artists and to get them out of this mass on Instagram, to get them out into the world and to support their success, to publish articles on them, to provide additional information on them, to publish books and to get them into exhibitions. So I'm really into following up also the way my artists do on photography, yeah. So what is then the essence of all this online work is actually a print publication. And there's always a question, why do you print mobile photography into a book? Does it even have sense? I mean, it comes from Instagram, you could even leave it there. But I think it is photography, and photography always belongs into medium. And I think Instagram sometimes is not the right medium for photography. It's like a representative medium. You can promote your work on there, but it's not actually the actual work that is shown. And sometimes printing photographic work or even get it into an exhibition is the real work in the end. I came up with this magazine in 2015, and after a long journey researching on mobile photography, and I saw that there is a lot of criticism against mobile photography, and I wanted to give those people who are really working with mobile photography and who are like sincerely shooting their photography with a phone, I wanted to give them a voice, because I thought that they are like not really seen in the art context. They are not really integrated, because a lot of people still think that mobile photography is meant for influencers, or meant for, or is low quality, for example. So I wanted to give them a space where they can promote their work as art and not as something that is just like, yeah, presenting a bag or a product or whatever, yeah. So in 2015, I published the first print magazine or print edition of the Smart View. It was, kind of the opener. It contained different works of people. There was even non-mobile photography in it, because I wanted to have it like as an opener to reflect on what's actually mobile photography and what's going on in the photography world. In 2016, the second print issue came out with the title Curator's Choice, which is actually more focusing on selecting photos online and what's actually the modern curator. What is the modern work of a curator? The magazine was actually quite successful. It won several awards and was mentioned under the top 10 of indie magazines. I just got a few into it here, if it runs. Yeah. I also got some magazines with me, so who wants to have a look in it can just come after and ask me. So this is actually, this is the second edition. It's presenting like 15 international artists and a lot of texts and interviews on curation and the mobile photo age. And I really like to, in the magazine to divide, for example, images and text, to give space to images. And then, this is actually the cover feature. This is also something special about the magazine. One artist, I always do a call for entries for those magazines, so people can send me in their projects and tag the hashtag for the magazine. And one person is going to be chosen to be the cover feature, so it's like the first prize actually. And this person is going to present it on the front cover, back cover, and on the inside covers. So yeah, this is actually something really cool, let's say. Let's get back to some hashtags. I wanted to speak again about the smartest photography hashtag. You already know that it's the second time where it came up. So in 2016, I've been invited over to Mannheim for a workshop, and I got to know about the conference by the German photographic, how it's called, associate. And I saw the program and I saw, oh, okay, there are only scientists and people from the photographic and communication sector speaking. And there was, I think, one artist, and I thought, that's a bit strange to me. Okay, it's going to be really scientific then, but what about the artists? And I thought, okay, maybe there is a possibility to also get some space for the artists to the conference. So I came up really spontaneously with a call for entries and generated this new hashtag, Smart as Photography, and called up like, it was like 2.5 weeks, and collected about 1,500 pictures, and somehow squeezed me into the conference with a screening of, in the end, it was like 35 artists from different countries. And this is where the smartest photography came up the first time. And I'm always surprised how active a community can be, how fast you can collect pictures just by providing a message, hey, I'm doing a screening on a conference, just send me in your pictures. And then after 2 weeks, you have like 1,500 pictures to select. So even in this case, in the second round, it was like over 2,000 pictures in also about 2 weeks. And I always find it really surprising how the people are into to be seen also. So yeah, this is this is what you've already seen, the exhibition. The second call, as I already said, generated 2,000 pictures, and I made a selection of 160. It's like 85 international artists, and it was a really short time frame to work on it. So it was like 4 days, and I had to select from 2,000 pictures, and then I had to communicate to 85 people, getting all their consent to be exhibited in the exhibition. Then I had to get the print data. I was even printing every of these pictures. So it was like a huge workload, but it was really, it was intense, but really interesting to see the result in the end. And I think the result is really good, shows what's possible and what people are out there to shoot on a phone. And I was also thinking about, okay, this is like the second round, what to do with all those pictures I've already collected. I mean, there are also the pictures I've collected like 2 years ago. And then some artists came up to me and asked me, isn't there any exhibition catalog or something? And I was thinking, well, yeah, no, there is not, but maybe there is a possibility. So I was thinking about what's up next, actually. And as I'm into publishing, I'm right now planning on publishing a book on this work with the hashtag Smartest Photography, to get together also the first round and the second round, and to show what's actually what this work on this hashtag was all about. Yeah. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them. This is like, yeah.
Okay. Danke, Rosa Roth. Zuerst mal eine technische, first of all, a technical question to your printed magazine. How do you finance it?
Yeah, the first magazine was financed through a crowdfunding campaign. So when I started with the project, I I put a campaign on Start Next and Nordstarter, which was successful, so I gained the money for printing the first magazine. And the second one, actually, I financed by myself because I'm always working besides this project. Mm-hmm. So I don't have any sponsors right now. It would be great to have some sponsors. That's why also the magazine doesn't come out regularly, because it really depends on funds, and then it depends also on my human capacity, because it's a huge workload to run a magazine like this, and I'm actually running it on my own.
Mm-hmm. So that means the artists don't have to pay something like a fee to be published. It is they apply, you pick them, more or less the same in the same way you did it in that show.
Yeah.
Today. Okay. So, yeah. I hope it works.
There it is. When you publish the magazines or a book, you're translating an image from a screen-based platform to a paper-based platform. Is that something that's important to you, that process of taking it off a screen and onto a page? And do you also, I know you mentioned a bit that the artists are represented on your website, but do you have versions of the magazine or the book represented on other screen-based platforms online, for example, as well?
I mean, I see this workflow as like kind of filtering, as I already said. So I start from from a hashtag, then I go into a feature, then I go into an interview, then I go into something printed, then I go into an exhibition space. So this is like really narrowing the selection until you see something in a show. And of course, then I have to go back into online representing the magazine or the exhibition or whatever theirs. But this is for marketing reasons, actually. It's nothing conceptual.
Rosa, you talk about the human filter of your curatorial work. So according to which criteria are the images selected?
This is always a good question. I mean, of course, it's my personal view. And I think it also is my education. So I'm an educated photographer. I know what's a good picture and what's not. And I mean, criteria, for example, when we talk about Instagram, I never look at likes. I never look at follows. Something like this doesn't count for me. It doesn't even count if this person is amateur or if it's professional. For me, the only thing that counts is the picture, and if the picture for me is worthy to show, then I'm going to select it because it's a good picture. And it really doesn't count who this person is. Of course, I'm interested in this person then, and you will also see in the magazine, for example, some stories about the people behind those pictures, and some of them are like really normal people. They are working in a supermarket or as a dental assistant or whatever, so they are not professionals. But then there are, of course, others that are like really full-time working photographers, yeah.
But do you call them artists?
I call them artists, yes. I mean, everyone who's doing creative work and put this work out in public should be called artist, yeah.
Another question in the context of the conference, and the exhibition and the conference is a dialogue, and what you mentioned, bringing the pictures from online to the exhibition space. So that's a very interesting point. So what happens to the pictures? I mean, it's another viewing, the reception is completely another one. So.
Yeah, because especially in this case, I mean, there's also the screen which shows the whole hashtag, but it's another perception to see the pictures actually in a space, and then also to see them all together. I mean, I could have also selected a single artist and presented his pictures, but to present all those 160 pictures together, and you see, it's like a cloud, it's really narrow, opens up for me another space to interpret also those pictures. So it's kind of a story. You see pictures together and they are responding to each other. So there we come back to the dialogue. So also those pictures are like communicating with each other.
And also the dialogue between the other artists. So
Yeah.
that's what an exhibition makes. So are there any questions? More?
My question is, I think I do outline. Hello, I'm interested in, do you check if the pictures are made with a smartphone? Because my impression is that a lot of pictures are shoot with a DSLR and retouched, and they look too perfect. So this is something for me interesting.
So actually for this exhibition I checked, and you can see it in the metadata of the pictures. So if I go into, for example, Adobe Bridge, I can see the metadata of the pictures, and you can also see the devices, as long as metadata are shared. It was the case in 90% of those pictures that metadata were shared and were the right ones. The other ones, I actually communicated with one of the artists if this picture is really made by a phone, so because I was not sure. And I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Those cameras, they develop so fast. They are really good cameras now. You can't even depict if it's like made by a DSLR if you see it online, yeah? Or if it's a phone. So it's really hard. But sometimes I also think, okay, we are talking about photography here. Is it really important what camera has been used?
I mean, in the moment in which we are speaking about smartphone photography, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can also take pictures with other cameras and then put them onto your smartphone and edit them with the smartphone.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, I can wear football shoes, but I wouldn't be a football player.
Yeah, I mean, this is a...
I mean, yeah, that is something different. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
Okay,
No
then
other
we are.
questions. Then
Vielen Dank, Rosa, Roth.
just like, yeah,
Thank
follow
you.
me and let's
yeah.
get into lunch break.